Hey everybody, welcome into Dizneyverse Fantasy Football League. I am your host, Alex, aka Dizneyverse variant, Redbeard variant, and this is week 14, the last week before playoffs. And it's been a fun season. I can't wait to see how the playoffs go. Can't wait to go into who won and who lost so we can figure out who made it into the playoffs because it was very close race to see who got that 6th, 7th seed. So looking forward to it. If you don't know who we are, I am Alex, Redbeard variant. I am a host on a podcast called Dizneyverse, Dizneyverse. You can find us on all social media, YouTube, everywhere. And we are a Disney history podcast. We take a Disney subject, let's say an attraction at the park or a movie or a character, and we talk about the history of that subject and have some fun along the way. We release episodes every Monday. And, every first Thursday of the month, we record live on YouTube. So if you're already on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to our channel. And that way you'll be notified when we go live on our live episodes we do once a month. So let's get into the stuff. Let's get to it. Let's look around here. So Week 14, we got this matchup here, Team Kalina versus Big Beautiful Diz, and Big Beautiful Diz ended up winning 110.5 to 107.1, moving Big Beautiful Diz to 9-5, and moving Team Kalina down to 7-7. Not going to do too much here because you could tell Team Kalina is not updating their rosters anymore. They stopped updating like a few weeks ago. As you can see, they're 7-7. They had a very good lead. Don't know why they kind of gave up, but they did. Unfortunately, because they could definitely, if they're not, they could have been in the playoffs for sure. So looking over here, they had White, who was very good. Great game by White, and great game by Neighbors. Kamar didn't do great. Great game by Kittle. Great game by Addison. I mean, look at these numbers. I mean, she put up 107, and she missed 1, 2, 3 people. Like, that shouldn't happen. Looking at Big Beautiful Diz, put up 110.5. Brock Purdy had a decent game. Jacobs had a good game, 3 touchdowns rushing there. Warren had a bad game. Lamb had a good game. Metcalf, not great. Hawkinson, not great. Higgins, not great. Jennings, very good with 2 touchdowns. And then Buffalo with -4. Wow. And they ended up getting the loss there. Looking at the benches, not much to look at the benches here, especially because there's a lot of bye weeks. Kind of the worst bye week scenario I've seen in quite a few years. A lot of teams on bye, and these are some precious weeks that people need to win. Kraft has a good game, scored a touchdown. Judy scored a touchdown. But, the lineups they had was pretty good other than people not being hurt, not playing. But Big Beautiful Diz got that win. Let's move on to this one. Again, East High Wildcats not in the 0-14, not really in anymore. But we have Stoop to Whoop, who had a decent game, 115.4 to 58. They had that Josh Allen, who scored 51 points. Ridiculous there. And Josh Allen was so good, you might be surprised. But he is the quarterback of the week. Josh Allen went ahead, and for the second week, was the quarterback of the week. He passed for 3 touchdowns and ran for 3 touchdowns, scoring 51.9 points. Now, that's good for Chutu because he had a hurt Breece Hall. Swift did nothing. Allen did nothing. Samuel did nothing. Waddle had a good game. Waddle's coming up here near the end. 24, 9, 16. So Waddle's coming up. San Francisco got a good game as well, scoring 13 points. And they did so well that they were the defense of, that's not right. That's not that. That's supposed to be the Niners. Don't know why it says the Chargers. Ugh, my bad. Chargers was the defense of the week. So they scored 13 fantasy points behind 1 forced fumble and 7 sacks. So that was good by them. Excuse me. Joku had a good game. He has been playing really well lately. I mean, he's in the game a lot. 9 receptions, 5 receptions, 17, 13. He is looking good going to playoffs. So that's a good player to have on your roster right there. Debo complained about not getting the ball, so maybe he'll get more next week. Worthy, I think that's about his floor. Allen had a bad game after having a bunch of good games, had one bad game. Swift had a bad game. San Francisco kind of just clamped on the the Bears. And, of course, we got Josh Allen. So, good for Stoop to Whoop. He moved to 8-6. Now we have heavyweights versus Lady and the Champs. And I think I called this upset. And heavyweights did win 114-36 to 110-02. That moves heavyweights to 7-7 and Lady and Champs to 10-4. And look at this matchup. Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts. Don't know why I forgot his first name. A difference of a little more than one. Then we got Montgomery versus A-Chain. Difference of a little more than one Then the both second running backs did not do great. Their first wide receivers did well, but Jefferson did better than Kupp. Then we have Evans, not great. Tight ends, not great. Here's the difference here, this flex spot. Thomas with the 12.6, Austin with the 0.9. That was a difference maker right there. Daddle had a good game. Hopkins had a good game. Defense did okay. So, that was a difference, and there's not much you can say about that. Was there something they could do differently? Looking at the defense, the Saints scored 10. Pitt scored 9. That's a difference of 1. That doesn't make a difference for the team, really. So, quarterback, no. They played I think they had the best roster out there, each team. And it just happened to go the way of heavyweights. So, good for you, heavyweights. All right. No New Friend Scott versus Team Maverick Miggs. This is supposed to be closer. Maverick Miggs had a bad week here, which is weird because they were fine for a playoff spot. I think they kind of knew they were out of it. I think they've been doing well, and I think they were like, "Oh, I'm out of it," which is not good because you need to stop some players from winning. Like he was 10-4 now because you kind of just threw this week away. Maybe you could have won and pushed him to 9-5. I doubt it because he scored 145. His team went off this week. And it's crazy because his team went off and he had no top players for any position. So Stafford with two throwing touchdowns, Gibbs with a rushing touchdown, Williams with the 2 rushing touchdowns. Moore is his only bad player. Gesicki is not supposed to score that much, so his 3.9 is a floor, so that's what it is. Thielen, 102 receiving yards. That's great for him. Guerrero, he has him. He scored 2 touchdowns. He's going to be the running back moving forward for San Francisco. And then Hill scored a touchdown. So, very good for him. Cooper, he even had Cooper on his bench. He scored 12 points. So, he had a lot of bye weeks, and he still ended up putting up a lot of points. Good for him. He moved to 10-4. King of the North versus Akuda Matata. Akuda Matata scored 127.84 to King of the North's 91.68. And King of the North, he played till the end. He did not give up. He constantly changing. He's adding players like Parasol and Gray. So good for you, King of the North. You played the whole year. You're 4-10. I think it's your first time doing fantasy football. You don't even watch football, I believe. No, I think you do watch football because you're King of the North. But if you're first time doing fantasy, I know that thing. Pretty sure. Unfortunately, Akuda Matata had Tua, who scored 2 touchdowns. Brown, who scored touchdowns. Joan, who scored touchdowns. Chase, who scored 2 touchdowns. And then Laporta did decent for a tight end. Tight ends aren't scoring a lot, so it's decent for a tight end. A.J. Brown, bad game for A.J. Brown. Coleman was out. Harris scored a touchdown, and the Chargers scored 4. And Skill put up 127.84. So good for you, Akuda Matata. You moved to 8-6. And on your bench, not much there. Honestly, not much available. And then last we have Historians versus 51st Legion. And Historians, we lost. We got killed by 51st Legion. They scored 143.30. Connor went off for 20 points. Tracy went off for 16 points. Wilson went off for 14. Shakir went off for 19. Johnson got 13. Robinson got 19. Smith and Jiba got 17. Even the defense scored 9. The only bad player was Mahomes with 14, and he scored 2 less than Wilson. So, that was crazy by Dizneyverse Legion. What a last week. Moved to 6-8. We dropped down to 10-4 with that loss. Really didn't have too much going on with all the buys. Adams was our light there with 100 receiving yards and a touchdown. And so that was bad for us, but hey, good for you, Dizneyverse Legion. You really put together a really good last week there. I missed a few players of the week. Team Maverick Miggs, he did have Punakua, which was the wide receiver of the week. That's Jamar Chase. I forgot to change my notes. Jamar Chase was the wide receiver of the week. That's from Makuta Matata. Jamar Chase there. Jamar Chase, he went ahead and he just went crazy. He had 170 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns, even had to carry for 14. He's leading the league in touchdowns, leading the league in reception yards, and I think he's leading the league in receptions as well. So he's aiming for that triple crown, which is crazy. And then the other player I did not highlight that I can was Eastside Wildcats had Zach Charbonnet, who's been on his starting roster the whole season, and he went ahead and scored 34.8 fantasy points. He was in there for Kenneth Walker, and he got 103 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns for 34.8 points. He's one of those handcuffs I knew that you needed to have because as soon as Walker goes down, he's going to fill it up. And that's exactly what happened for sure. All right, so now that we have that, let's look at the standings. That leads Lady of the Champs, Historians, and No Different Scott tied for first with 10-4, which means then it's based on points for. So points for the year. Lady and Champs has 1,641.94. We have 1,631.6, so a 10-point difference. So if I was able to score 21 more points this week, 11 more points this week, we would have ended up being the number 1 team. The No New Friends had a score of 1,593. Then we got Big Beautiful Diz at 4th place with 9-5. Then we had a tie with Kumatata and Stroop de Whoop for 8-6. And then unfortunately Heavyweights is on the outside looking in with a 7-7 record. Good job, Heavyweights, with that late season push. And that sets up our playoff, which is going to be Lady and Champs and Historians with the bye. And then we're going to have Big Beautiful Diz versus Kuda Matata. And then we're going to have Stroop de Whoop versus No Different Scott. Let's go ahead and look at that matchup. I believe this is my matchup number, right? Preview. Bah. All right, so I guess I have to go through the playoffs here. So we're going to look at, oh, boy. Ooh. Oh, it's waiting to be finalized for Wednesday at 1. Okay, so that's annoying. I didn't realize I can't do this. Okay, so let's go ahead and just look at the teams. And, oh, boy, this is not cool at all. No, really fast, let me look at free agents. I'll look at free agents really fast. So, free agents going into the playoffs. So, at this point, I like to look at players and their next 3 games because you want to get those players that are going to do well in the playoffs. Like Aaron Rodgers, who did he play in the playoffs? He's playing the Rams, Buffalo, and Miami. Do you want to face Buffalo? Not really, but he's projected, Jacksonville, the Rams, and Buffalo. He's projected 15, 16, and 15. Not bad projection. What he's been doing, 16, 15, and 17. So he's probably going to reach his projection. So if you need a quarterback, that's a good solid floor for your quarterback. Then we have Drake May. He's been playing really well. 12, 18, 14, 20. He had the bye week. Now he's facing the Rams, the Buffalo, and the Chargers. 15, 13, 14. Yeah, Buffalo is a pretty good defense, even though they just scored -4 points. They've been a decent defense, so I'm not sure I want to take him. And then we go look at players like, well, Aaron Rodgers was the top free agent from last week. So if you really need a quarterback for the playoffs, you're looking for someone to go, I'd probably play him against Jacksonville next week. It's probably a good matchup. Looking at running back, top running back on the waivers was Isaiah Davis for the Jets. He scored 14.2 points with 77 total yards and a rushing touchdown. And if Breece Hall is hurt, then Isaiah Davis will definitely be another player to look at to go again, which Isaiah Davis is all the way down here. He's a rookie. He scored 14 fantasy points. He got 53% with 10 carries. Braylon Allen, the other rookie, had 54 with 11 carries, but he did not do nearly as well as Isaiah Davis did. So he's from South Dakota State. I think I remember in the draft when he got drafted, like people were like, "Oh, this kid's really good from South Dakota State," and he showed it. So if Breece Hall is not playing next week, which I don't know what's going on with him, knee not expected to be shut down for season, but it could be a really bad injury. Isaiah Davis is definitely worth a grab. Then we're looking at wide receiver. Top wide receiver was Tim Patrick for the Broncos. He scored 19.3 points with 6 receptions, and 2 of those turning into touchdowns. So only 6 receptions with 2 touchdowns. Not going to happen every week, but he did have a good game. If you look at projection, they think Mims is the better wide receiver to pick up off waiver. Percentage on field does not look like it. Let me go down and look for Patrick. I don't know how far down I got to go for Patrick. Let's see here. Patrick, where are you? Actually, I could just went to his teammates and went from there. Might end up doing that because Patrick is really low down here. It's crazy how low these players can be sometimes when they just put up points. Oh, what happened? Where'd Mims go? I don't know. Devon Vale, let's see percentage-wise, 60%. And then let's look at Patrick. What? Is Tim Patrick not even on the Broncos? Did I get this completely wrong? Oh, boy. What did I do? Let's go here. Patrick. Oh, Detroit. Wow. Oh, he used to be playing for the Broncos. Look, he's wearing a Broncos uniform right there. Simple mistake. You gotta say. Simple mistake. Playing line percentage, 71, 50, 78, 66. But I would not rely on that because, I mean, Amal St. Brad had a game, 7 points. And Jameson Williams had a decent game. But obviously, he just was lucky enough to score the 2 touchdowns that game. So I would not rely on that. But if you do look at people not named Patrick, Elijah Moore has come up a lot. He's playing a lot of percentage. Not 4 receptions is not a lot, but the Browns had a really bad game against Pittsburgh. Westbrook keeps defying the odds and scoring touchdowns. He didn't that week, but he did have 94% on the field. Only 2 receptions, but again, they had a bad game. But if he didn't score a touchdown this week, then he's probably going to score a touchdown next week, right? I mean, he has to. He scores a touchdown almost every week. So if he didn't score a touchdown here, he's got to score a touchdown again, right? Like, he has to. So maybe you want to put him out there and see what happens. Raymond McLeod has been playing well recently. 11 points, 12 points. Don't know why so much. I don't think Drake London's hurt. I don't think Darnell Mooney's hurt. So I'm not sure why he's getting so much. But that's what's happening. But, well, yeah. If you need a wide receiver, I don't think anyone in the playoffs is going to need a wide receiver, though. This is kind of not really useful information. For the tight ends, the Raiders' Michael Mayer scored 10.3 points with 7 receptions for 68 yards. And why did he do so much better than Brock Bowers? Who knows? Is he going to continue doing that? I doubt it. And the top defense was free agents with Seahawks. Scored 16 fantasy points against the Jets by forcing 2 fumbles and interception with a defensive touchdown. And then if you look at Seahawks and you look at who they're playing coming up, they play Green Bay. Don't like that matchup. But then they're playing Minnesota. Not a fan of that one either. But then Chicago for the championship game. So it might be a worth a look at Chicago. Looking at the teams available, Baltimore Ravens are down here, but like their last 4 weeks have not been great, so I don't think I'd grab them. Cardinals have been okay. 10, 5, 13, 13, 12, 9, -1 against Seattle. But they play New England, Carolina, and then so those aren't bad matchup for the Cardinals for, doing stuff there. And then Green Bay you have here. 6, 17, 8, 2, not great, but they're playing Seattle, New Orleans back to back. Those are poor teams when it comes to offense. So some defensive teams to look at. I really don't know how I'm going to look at this week 15 because I can't go here. I can't look here. We can just look at projections. But it's kind of unfortunate because I don't know if people updated their teams already. I know I did. I projected 103. I know Scott did, projected 109. I'm pretty sure that Hakuna Matata is updated with 107. I'm pretty sure Big Blue Diz is updated 114. I just don't know about Stroop de Whoop. So let's see if I can look at his team really fast and see if he is updated. Let's see here. Stroop de Whoop. Can I look at your team? I think on the app, which is I don't have a way to look at it by week. Let's see if I can look at it better on the app because Sleeper is really a app. It's not a computer-based program. Like I play NBA Fantasy League, and you can't even get that on the computer. Only via... Oh, man. Okay. Don't get distracted. Okay. Let's look here. League. Let's look at playoffs. See if I can actually look at the stuff here. Okay. So here I can actually look at the matchup. So unfortunately, you can't see it on the computer, but I can go ahead and show you it here. Tell you here. So right now, Big Beautiful Days is projected to win 114.09 to 111.08. And if we do a kind of a deep dive into their bench or their team, so Big Beautiful Diz has Brock Purdy, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, CeeDee Lamb, Metcalf, Kraft, Higgins, Jawan Jennings, and the Commanders' defense. And their players who have favorable matchups, which are in the green range, Purdy, Henry, Kraft, Jennings, and Commanders all have favorable matchups. Over here on Lady and the Champs, she has Jalen Hurts, A-Chain, Cook, Jefferson, London, Brock Bowers. She has Calvin Austin for the Steelers, Hopkins, and the Steelers defense. Her favorable matchups are only DeAndre Hopkins. So floor for her is definitely going to be lower than Big People Diz just because of projections. Now looking at your benches, do you have players I would play over? Valdez Scanlon's projected 7 points, while Austin's projected 6. Valdez Scanlon plays for the Saints. He just scored when he's scored. The last 4 weeks he's played. His points have been 24, 15, 10, and 7. He's playing against the Commanders, which is a favorable matchup, they're saying. And if you look at his game logs, he's on the field for those games that he scored well. 55%, 65%, 76%, 71%. So he's on the field quite a bit. And now look at Austin. Now I know why you have Calvin Austin. He's a good player. They've been getting him involved lately, the Steelers have. But when you look at his ceiling, last 4 games, he's had 0, 15, 9, and 0. And that 9 against the Bengals, he got hurt, and he still scored 9. But I don't think his floor is as high as Valdez Scanlon. So if I were you, I think I'd make that change. I think I'd swap out Valdez Scanlon for Austin because Valdez Scanlon has a higher ceiling, and you're projected to lose, so you need that high ceiling projection. So that's what I would do on your end. Other than that, your team is all set up. For Big People Diz, is there anyone on your bench that I think would be better for your matchup? Warren's on your bench, not really. Mooney's on your bench, not really. Downs is out. Hawkinson has a favorable matchup. Hawkinson has not been doing too much, but you have Tucker Kraft, who has a favorable matchup as well, and he's been doing well. So I would keep Kraft. Even though Kraft projected 7 points and Hawkinson's projected almost 9, I think Kraft is the better choice. So I would stick with that. So projecting, looking at what's it looks like, I do think Beeple Diz is going to win and move on in the playoffs. Next, I'm going to look at the other matchup, which is Stroop to Whoop versus Maffei. And here I can look at Stroop to Whoop and look at his lineup, see if he has his best lineup out here. So his lineup on his bench, he does not have Onan on his bench. I think he would rather have starting. So I think his lineup is maximized, which means he is maximized to be projection. Oh, wait, this is week 15. Oh. Why is it showing week 15 and not? Oh, I was looking at the wrong stuff. Okay. It's showing me week 15. It's not showing me week 16. So that was wrong, all that stuff. No, it's saying week 15 right here. Why is it showing me leading the champs? That's weird. Okay. So this is Stroop to Whoop's week 15, and he is projected 100.67, and his team is Josh Allen, Swift. Hall is out, but he's projected points, so he's projected to be back by then. I don't know if he will be back. So that's something to look at leading into his game on Sunday at 1. So make sure you check your lineup at 12:30. Everyone else his whole team is green except for Swift, Allen, and the 49ers defense. So that's pretty good for you. But you're projected 100 points, while Smuffet is projected 109. And I can't look at somebody's lineup for week 15, unfortunately. And actually, it's going to be Big People Diz versus Akuda Matata, not Lady of Champs. And Lady of Champs is projected 107.3. I believe that is her ideal setup. So that is her projection. So I do project that the higher seeds are going to move on. I project that Beautiful Diz, who was seated at 4, is going to beat Akuda Matata, who's seated at 5. And I do believe that No New Friend Scott is going to beat Stroop to Whoop. No New Friend Scott being seated at 3 and Stroop to Whoop being seated at 6. And that would mean that week 16 would be Big People Diz versus Lady of Champs and No New Friend Scott versus the Historians. Unfortunately, we cannot get it on the computer, which is unfortunate for you guys not to be able to look at it. But it was a good year. I look forward to doing this next year. Again, the team who is not the Historians that score the highest will end up getting a free shirt for the Dizneyverse. So be that the championship team who loses, they still will get a Dizneyverse championship team if they lose to us. Now, of course, if we don't make it a championship, which is highly unlikely, then the team that wins the championship would end up winning the free shirt. Not much else to look at. I will show you that I am putting a waiver out for the Falcons defense. I don't love my defense, Detroit versus Buffalo for this week, and Dallas versus Carolina I'm not loving either. Now, I have players on my roster I don't need. I am going to be dropping Homer, who did nothing. Anyways, I had him because I thought Swift wasn't going to play. And let's see, Dallas is playing Tampa Bay, then Philadelphia. So those are some matchups I'm kind of interested in Tampa Bay right there for week 16. Detroit is playing Buffalo, then Chicago, then San Francisco. I'm liking Chicago. And if they don't have, I don't know about San Francisco for week 17. So my week 17 is up for air, which team I'm actually going to have play for the championship game, which defense. But this week I was like, no, I think I rather grab the Falcons defense, who are playing the Raiders than the Giants, who I think I'd probably go with them with those two matchups. And then the Commanders, and if they're hot, I may continue with them leading into it. Like I said, looking at players available and defense available, not much available. If I look at projecting for week 17, which is championship week. Indianapolis playing the Giants. Seattle's playing Chicago. Bengals playing Denver. I don't want that. Jacksonville playing Tennessee. Don't think I want that. So the only one to look at would probably be Seattle versus Chicago. Did they play Chicago recently? No, they did not. But their points 20, 16, 8 against Arizona, 5 against San Francisco. So when they play the good teams, it's not high. When they play the bad teams, it is high. So Seahawks are looking at a good ad there, possibly week 17. Am I willing to drop Dallas for them? Tampa Bay, Chicago. Yeah, I think I am actually going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and add the Seahawks, and I'm going to drop the Cowboys. Then I'll get 2 waiver claims going on, and I'm going to have the Falcons be my higher one, and then the Cowboys dropping for Seahawks, and that will be good. All right. Well, hey, that was a fun year. Playoffs is here. Cannot wait. And I'll see you next week.